And hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stuart and I am the co-host of the Josh and Stu Wrestling Podcast. And as you can hear, I'm all by myself, no Josh here today. He'll be back for our review of WrestleMania 35. And with only WrestleMania 35 only 2 days away, I'm going to go back in time to 2014 and reminisce WrestleMania 30. At WrestleMania, I have fond memories watching.
At last, you're on your own! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Yes! You just made the list!
Brock Lesnar.
So, WrestleMania 30 that was held at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, or in Hogan's case, the Silverdome, on April 6th, 2014, in New Orleans, Louisiana, with the attendance of 75,167. And a fun fact, it was the first Mania on the WWE Network. There were two things that were memorable about this WrestleMania, was the end of the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, and Daniel Bryan's big world title win. So the question you may ask yourself is, why am I looking back at WrestleMania 30 and not going back at WrestleMania 17 or WrestleMania 3? That is because this is the first WrestleMania where it felt special to me. This was the first WrestleMania I went to watch at a viewing party in Southampton. I just finished uni, and it was the first time I actually acknowledged, was happy to admit to people that I enjoy wrestling. So this was sort of a breakout moment for me. The whole night was great. The people there were awesome. The atmosphere was great. I enjoyed it, and nothing's really got to that point where it felt like, special. And yes, that's why I wanted to go back, because I wanted to see if it still holds up. Where was it just me looking at nostalgia goggles and going back thinking it's this great WrestleMania, or does it still hold up? So WrestleMania 30 started off with the host of WrestleMania 30, Hulk Hogan. Obviously looking back now, it's a bit different. Obviously 2 years after this, or a year after this, there's videotape that was leaked of him saying racial slurs about certain black people. So now he's not exactly popular as he used to be, because everyone thinks he's a racist, and that's your opinion if you think he is or not. But no one can deny, when it comes to Hulk Hogan, when his music hits, everyone loves him. Like, everyone loves that theme, everyone loves everything, everyone gets hyped up, jacked up for Hulk Hogan. And if you're going to start WrestleMania, it's the best thing to do. I mean, get the guy that technically made WrestleMania, the global phenomenon it is. So obviously he came out and he was talking about, reminiscing on the past, maybe a bit too much, because he accidentally, as I said in my intro, talked about it being at the Silverdome and not the Superdome. And my God, the crowd were on him about that for the entire part of this segment. And so was Stone Cold Steve Austin that came out. Obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's the most probably over WWE superstar there's ever been, and probably ever will be. And obviously he took jabs at him, taking the mick out of him, and that was great. It was just and him talking about how great it was, and how it wasn't for Hogan, it would be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then obviously The Rock came out, and then everyone was like, oh my God, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Hogan all in the same ring. It's crazy. Just reminiscing about the past, talking about how great WrestleMania is and how great this all is, and they're all doing their signature chants and catchphrases, just the usual stuff. And then obviously they shared a beer and then cut to black, really, or to the start of the show. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, come on, these are three of the most legendary wrestlers ever to grace the ring in WWE, and just have all three of them in just a segment is just special. And as it's an 30-year anniversary special of WrestleMania, it made sense to have them all there. Really, I just like the thing they take the mick out of him, Hulk Hogan for messing up. But it was I can understand. He got excited. Obviously, this is the first time he's back since he's run early 2000s when he won the undisputed title and had a little run with that. So it's the first time he's been back, so it's a big deal. But it was awesome, and it was a great way to start, just to get everyone happy really, and really joyful before we get into the main stories of the entire show. Really, I mean, it's always good to look back so you know where you're going forward, basically. So yeah, it was really good, and I enjoyed every minute of this. And looking back, it's still surreal to see all three of them in the ring. So after that awesome segment, now we get into the first match of the card, where we had Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. And the winner would get entered into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match later in the night. Obviously, this match had to go first because obviously this has repercussions onto the main event, so they needed time to relax and rest, whoever won this match. Obviously, if you know the story of this, you know that this wasn't supposed to happen, this match. This match was supposed to be Triple H versus CM Punk. Obviously, they set that up at Royal Rumble, where it was Kane that eliminated CM Punk. And that was supposed to set up like a match him against the Authority, but that was the final straw for CM Punk, and he walked out in 2014 or that month pretty much, and so it sort of shifted WWE's plans for WrestleMania for the better, obviously. So the whole thing was that it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus as well, but obviously that was never going to fly, really. I mean, come on, the guy leading up to this, they had like a huge story where basically the Authority was screwing Daniel Bryan. And to lead up to go against Sheamus at WrestleMania, that's an insult. And the fans were on them for that. I mean, the Royal Rumble 2014 was probably like the biggest example of like fans hijacking anything. I mean, if I remember this correctly, I mean, it was like Rey Mysterio came at number 30 and the whole place booed. Like, they completely crapped on this match. The Royal Rumble match, and yeah, and ever since then I think they realised, maybe we should put Danny Bryan in the world title picture, maybe. The whole story was like, he was challenging Triple H, and he kept saying, no, I'm not going to face you. And then we had the infamous Occupy Raw, where basically Danny Bryan took all these fans, or people they asked anyway, to occupy the ring, his yes movement as he calls it, and basically demand that he give Triple H give him his match, and obviously it got heated, and he gave it to him, but he also said that he also wants to be the world title match, and pretty much that set up the whole thing. So yeah, this match was, and this set up this really, really good long-standing story that luckily CM Punk leaving sort of shifted the direction it should have been. So yeah, so this was really cool, really. I mean, it was just, it felt like you get rewarded for a change, for a long-standing storyline. So this all started with, yet again, Triple H is known for his really cool entrances. And we had this whole thing where Stephanie came in the ring, introduced, the usual stuff where she just sort of bigs up Triple H as this, cerebral assassin, all that stuff. And then obviously you had this entry where he came out in as a king on a throne, with when he had this cool golden like sort of skull mask he wore that looked awesome. I mean, it's one of my favourite Triple H entrances, really. I haven't seen many others, but nothing's really held up than that last couple of WrestleManias after. I think it was just so epic. Triple H does like epic. So yeah, and a cool fact, the three slaves that were him, helped off take up his mask and everything, was Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, and Sasha Banks. The irony of that one of them is going to main event this year's WrestleMania is insane, and it also shows how much women's wrestling has gone, but we'll go into that later on. But yeah, I mean, this is a cool fact that he's using all the NXT stars to get their time to shine, even if it's just to help out. CM Punk did it one year with John Cena one year, so it's a cool thing. But yeah, cool entrance. Triple H does his thing. One thing you forget is obviously now, because Danny Bryan's now a heel and being like this sort of equal champion, he is the Earth champion, all that awesome stuff. I mean, I can't wait for that. But yeah, it was just, you really forget how much like people like loved him, man. Danny Bryan, it's like everyone was like 75,000 people chanting yes. It was so epic. I mean, you should have seen in the pub when I was watching it. We done the same thing. It was a small closed pub in Southampton, but the whole place was all just chanting yes, and it was just the atmosphere was so cool in the pub and in there. And yeah, I mean, this setup's great. I mean, I just love this match. It's one of the best openings they've done into WrestleMania. I mean, I have watched every WrestleMania, but it's pretty decent, and one of the first decent ones. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the whole match was basically like Danny Bryan starting off fast, quick paced. But Triple H just kept targeting that arm. And because obviously it was injured during the go home show, because of obviously he arrested him, Danny Bryan got arrested, and Triple H attacked him while he was handcuffed and just like attacked the arm. So he went into that match injured, as you would guess. And yeah, and he kept working on it. Danny Bryan dived into the injured arm in the announce table, but then Triple H kept attacking his arm, and he hit this a hammerlock belly to back suplex on the apron that looked nasty. But yeah, again, it just this kind of stuff was to build like nothing could beat him. You can do anything to Danny Bryan, but with all the fans behind him, he can find the energy to get back. It was basically them Triple H just working on the arm. He had a crossface chicken wing that he kept doing. Danny Bryan, got out of. He kept going back to it. He had some cool like near misses where every time he hit you got Danny Bryan hit the yes lock, and the crowd was going nuts because you wanted him to tap. We were so desperate for Danny Bryan to win this, but Triple H was, he was not being denied. I mean, he was not going to be tap out that easily. Obviously, you had the Triple H signatures, the running knee, the spine buster. But then when he hit that, when he hit the pedigree, you're feeling, oh God, here comes the shovels, because he's just buried in other talent. But he didn't. He was fucking great, and he kicked out, and everyone, it was brilliant. I loved it. But yeah, but this match really ended with the bit where he just kept everything he tried. He tried everything to try and beat Danny Bryan. He couldn't get the 3 count. But then obviously Danny Bryan hit that, flying knee that he hits. Triple H didn't see it coming, and then got the 1, 2, 3, and he won. And you were starting to believe then that he was going to finally win it. He was going to finally win, because he was in the main event. And obviously, if you know storylines, I mean, come on, I mean, they weren't going to not let him win it, right? But it was you're always in doubt back then, and still is now today. Obviously, to note at the end of this match, you got Stephanie McMahon distracting Danny Bryan after his win, slapping him in the face. A very Stephanie McMahon move. But it was a distraction pretty much for Triple H to attack Danny Bryan, and injured his arm, where he attacked him from the ring post, hit his arm in the ring post, and then got a steel chair and hit his arm with a steel chair. And yeah, so basically, so it was sort of like he won, but with a cost. So yes, Triple H is great at being a villain. This match was entertaining back to front. It was never boring. You were just really invested. The fans were invested watching this. It was just so good. And going back to watch it, just realised how good this story was. I mean, we can all criticise Triple H, but he was the perfect foil for this Danny Bryan. And yeah, loved it. And obviously the whole thing with his injured arm will play into the main event. But it just gives more sympathy for the guy that he's going through an injured arm and he can still win. It's very commendable, and it's quite sad that it never really hit full potential. This was the height of Yes-O-Mania and Yes Movement type stuff. But yeah, it was awesome, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So after that incredible opener, we go into a 6-man tag team match where The Shield, as you know, as Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, were going against Kane and the New Age Outlaws, obviously Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. This was basically set up after, obviously, New Age Outlaws returned, just randomly. I can't remember why. They just came back, and obviously this was the whole thing with Triple H and being the big authority figure and heel in this whole thing was sort of like everyone was thinking he's bringing back his buddies, his lackeys, so he can enforce his will. And obviously there was a bit where the Shield were getting too cocky and getting hard to control, so they got attacked by the New Age Outlaws. They were pissed because they were like, did Triple H order this? And obviously they denied it, all that kind of stuff, and it all led up to a segment of Raw where it was the Raw after the Occupy Raw segment with Danny Bryan, and it was also like who with Kane came in the ring and sort of talking about like, after my investigations I found that it was a sympathetic character for their movement, and it was Jerry the King Lawler. That's obviously Jerry the King. He's always getting in segments like this. So we brought him in the ring, and then the Shield came out, and the usual stuff, it was going to be a situation where he was going to attack Jerry, and it was going to be one of those things. But it had a cool moment where they both, three of them, stand in the middle of the ring. Kane ordered them to attack, and then they both, all of them, the Shield slowly turned towards Kane and attacked Kane. And pretty much this all set up into, it wasn't exactly the match everyone wanted to see, but we loved this. Shield was so over at this point. They've gone from being a definitely heel team to a really high pop, basically a very liked 3-man team. I mean, no one was denying that. It was probably the first time in a while that a team was brought up from NXT and sort of built right, like properly done right. So it was brilliant. But the funny thing about this match is that it was pretty much a squash match. Surprised how short this match was. It pretty much was just fast paced. Just like basically Kane and the New Age Outlaws didn't have a chance to even get any offense on. It was just basically them basically like hitting their signatures, just attacking them. And obviously you got Roman Reigns at this point. We did hate him at this point. Not saying we do now, but it was like we actually saw why the potential back then. So it was all about Roman. Sort of, he hit everyone with a spear, and he hit just everyone with a spear. And then obviously the famous thing about this is that he did double, triple power bomb that they did on the Outlaws together. Basically, I think it was just like they knew this wasn't going to be a classic. You're not going to put them on for it was only like 6 minutes. It was nothing crazy, but it just made the Shield look strong. Would have been nice to have a more stronger opponent, but it helped them set up, and obviously the night after they properly turned face, and it set up in a really cool battle between Evolution and the Shield that still is great to look back to this day, really. This was not the greatest. It wasn't it's not the longest, but the Shield stand tall at this segment, and it was fine for what it was. So that's cool. So I enjoyed every minute of it, and anything that makes the Shield look strong back, the Shield strong is also awesome. So yeah. So next we go on to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. This was the first one they did. Obviously the last 4 or 5 years haven't lived up to this kind of like how good this one was, because it felt special, it felt new. Obviously this was set up by Hulk Hogan, or on TV anyway, to say homage to Andre the Giant, because obviously it's an anniversary WrestleMania, so you want to do homage to one of the best moments of WrestleMania history. Obviously, Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant to win the title at WrestleMania 3. This was fine. It was the first time he sort of had a show where he just when he had like an event where he could just, anyone that's not doing any in the main card and like a storyline could just be chucked into this match and, can do whatever they want. It was fine. It was like, when it started, it was too many people in it. Some of the names in here though are just like crazy. You got Brodus Clay, the Great Khali, Mark Henry, Big Show, Fandango was in it, Big E, who was Intercontinental Champion at that point. You had Sheamus, you had Cesaro, obviously, Rey Mysterio, Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, Cody Rhodes, Goldust, Brad Maddox. The list can go on. There was Alberto Del Rio as well. There was so many different, like, some of these are not even here anymore, or just doing where they were then and where they are now. It's crazy when you think about it. But yeah, it was nothing special. It was all like elimination after eliminations. You had Kofi Kingston have his moment, as he always does in Battle Royals, where he was chucked over to the floor, but his feet were on the steps, so he didn't eliminate himself. But as always, it was just a cool moment, but it never led anywhere, really. I mean, it sucks for Kofi. Obviously, he's in the WWE Championship match against Bryan, so fingers crossed he can finally win the big one. But here's just a perfect example why they give him these cool little spots, but they don't do anything with it. But it was fine. But but the 4 last competitors for this match was you had Sheamus, you had Alberto Del Rio, you had the Big Show, and you had Cesaro. Pretty much, this when he got to the final 4, it's just basically like Cesaro and Big Show in both corners, and Sheamus and Del Rio were just batting out, but they both eliminated each other. So it was between Cesaro and Big Show. Funny enough, I thought this section last longer, but it wasn't that long. I think it was a situation where you thought Cesaro was just going to get Big Show would just win, but let's be honest, that's not the thing that everyone remembers. Is the bit where Cesaro picked up Big Show, like sort of homage to when Hulk Hogan did it to Andre the Giant, and we had to pick him up and chuck him over outside the ring. And Cesaro, that apparently wasn't even no one knew was actually in the match, because he had, in the pre-show, had a splitting out with, at the time, the Real American Jack Swagger. That was so no one knew why he was in it, but he was in it and he won it. And obviously we all forget how good Cesaro is, and he won it and he had the trophy. It was a great moment. And at that point we felt that it had a feeling of like they're gonna use this to catapult him into the main event. So sad watching it now. It didn't do anything with him. Yeah, they put him with Paul Heyman at the time, but didn't do anything with him. He basically was afterthought with Paul Heyman. Watched an interview with Paul Heyman saying Cesaro done his job, but he was basically there so keep Paul Heyman on telly to say, I am the advocate of the one in 21 that broke the streak, pretty much. Sucks for Cesaro. Yeah, he's had his moments, but Cesaro was such a good wrestler. He deserved more. But in this moment, there was hope that they were going to do something with him. And it was a great moment. I mean, for a Battle Royal that didn't really have anything going into it other than just the name that was on the Battle Royal. It was just that moment, you watching this back felt so cool. I mean, just showed how strong Cesaro is, as we all know. And obviously, and just a Big Show even to take that bump is awesome. So, yeah, I mean, look at the back scene, they didn't do anything with it, and they haven't done anything with it since. But it's fun to watch back, and it's still entertaining to watch back then. So, yeah. It was fine. I enjoyed it. And it just wished they did something with Cesaro. I mean, come on. But hey, it's the way wrestling business sometimes is. So then we go into the match between John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. My God, watching this match freaking angers the hell out of me. In the sense that this is where Bray Wyatt's character died. Or the momentum he had going into this match, and it all just went downhill from here. He never got the kind of momentum that he had, like the fact, like, you know, how over he was and how awesome he was booked, until after this match. Nothing happened. But the storyline was brilliant now. I mean, obviously at this point Bray Wyatt debuted just before SummerSlam of 2013. He went against. We debuted against Kane, obviously in an Inferno match. Terrible match, by the way. Don't go back and watch that. Awful. And he was on a roll. He was winning all the feuds he was in. And then obviously he had that cool little thing at Elimination Chamber where it was a Shield versus the Wyatt family. One of the best ever. Like, I go back to watch that if I was just. It's brilliant match. Yeah, and basically it was all about. Sort of, he was on a roll. Like, his character was supposed to be a cult leader. Like, you know, it was like more of instead of like the spooky stuff they did in like later on. It was just like he was just a really charismatic cult leader that like gets people to follow him. That's why I say follow the buzzers. It was just creepy and good, and it felt so fresh with characters than we did. It felt so good. But obviously, how this match was set up is basically at the Royal Rumble event, as most things set up, the Wyatt family, led by obviously Bray Wyatt, cost John Cena the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, obviously, and then obviously at Elimination Chamber cost him, attacked him after Elimination Chamber match for the same championship. Pretty much they screwed him twice for the title, and the whole thing about this is Bray Wyatt was decided to end the lies and the usual stuff that you always say about John Cena. Where basically he's a lie, he's just doing it, he's a phony, he's a fraud, he's just, they're all he's selfish, and basically he's one thing away from snapping. And obviously why Bray Wyatt's there to expose the lie of John Cena, and the whole thing was about, you know, protect his legacy or destroy his legacy. The promo to this was brilliant. I love the promo. Obviously using Eminem's Monster. Collaboration with Rihanna, really cool. That sort of music worked really well. But I like things like the idea of John Cena was like, he was afraid, but he's still going to fight him anyway. And this match is sort of a perfect example of like in-ring storytelling. I mean, watching this match back, it was never really like a technical match. It was more about the story, really. Let's be honest, it was all about like Bray Wyatt trying to, coax or like coerce John Cena to attack him or get angry or release the monster that was inside him for all these years. And pretty much it was what the whole match was. And there was a point where it worked. And he basically was like, Bray was laughing at him. And it was just, the story was so good. Just building up. And it was good. I mean, obviously you had the moments where you thought Bray was going to win. He got frustrated. Stu couldn't beat him. All these mind games weren't working. But the bit at the end I enjoyed that a lot. Where you had, it wasn't working. Stu couldn't beat him. He's hit his sister Abigail. He can't beat him. So he went to get a chair, chucked it in the ring, chucked it to Cena, done the whole pose thing with, like sacrificial pose and sort of said, hit me, John. And what he should have done is hit him. Or, that sort of hesitation not to hit him cost him the match. But he didn't. It was usual. That's why the reason we still don't like John Cena, sort of to a point, is basically the match ended with him hitting Eric Rowan with the chair, him hitting the AA, 1, 2, 3, that's the end of the match, that's it. And that was the worst decision. Bray should have won that match. And yeah, Bray got his win back at Extreme Rules from the cage match, when obviously it was all because of Bray Wyatt converted the kid to his cult. Silly. It never got any good. This was the height of it, this storyline, and it was a good match to watch. It was just, the story was so good. It was just like the chemistry of sort of like he was trying to make him release the monster, and it worked. And at some point, it looked like he was going to succeed. Like others have failed, like the old Kane storyline about release the hate type stuff. But it was good, and Bray should have won. And if he won, it would have legitified him as his proper threat, and maybe could have helped him become one of the biggest stars up there with the Shield, really. But they didn't. They played it safe. John Cena won. And again, as I said at the start of this, looking back, it's like he's never going to win. He never got to this height. Yeah, we had great matches against like Dean Ambrose and and he had feuds with Randy Orton. He won the WWE title, but it just he only had it for a month and he lost it in a very piss poor match. It's just they forgot what his sort of character was. And going back to watch this, it was just sad that how over he was and how good he was, and then to see that now he hasn't been on telly since mid last year of 2018. I haven't seen him around. It's sad. But I mean, everything about this match was good except for the finish. So, but yeah, it's just sad watching about this match. So yeah, but poor Bray. This guy could have been great, but hey, there's no point looking back now. It's over. But yeah, he should have won this match. So now we go back to a match that, oh my god, this still sucks to this day. Obviously, I'm talking about the match between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, where The Undertaker's undefeated streak was on the line. Funny thing about The Undertaker here is it was a constant at WrestleMania, where when The Undertaker was at WrestleMania, he won. He was the main event. Yeah, he had the title match, but he was the main event. He was the one that drawed people to watch WrestleMania. Obviously, he had a great match prior with CM Punk. Couldn't say CM Punk should have won, but it just sucks that it had to end eventually. Obviously then I don't think, but I think it's a good idea it ended. And the way it ended was, it didn't end the way it should have, but at least I think when they lost, when Brock won. At least they used it right. They used it to build someone, as they should have. Maybe you can dispute that Brock Lesnar didn't need it, but they did strap a rocket and catapulted him up to... Because after that, he won the world title. And then, obviously, he won the Universal title. He's been undefeated. No one's really beaten him except for, like, Goldberg and Roman Reigns. Like, two people. But he's won most of the feuds he's been in. Brock Lesnar, that's quite, well, now it's tiresome, but at least they did something with this. Obviously, this match was set up pretty much because Brock was pissed at the time that he wasn't in the world title picture. So to basically make Lesnar happy, the authority at the time just said, here's a contract. You can face anyone at WrestleMania. And obviously who came out? The Undertaker. And obviously we're like, this is interesting. It's a match I haven't seen before. I don't think they've ever faced since like 2002-3 when they had them brutal matches for the Undisputed title. It was pretty good, really good actually. So we're so excited for it for this sense because it was quite brutal, that sort of hard-hitting stuff. And the cool thing about this segment was that obviously Undertaker accepted, stabbed Lesnar with the pen and then chokeslammed him through the table. Pretty much set it up. Obviously, prior to this match, obviously Brock Lesnar got his heat when he during the Undertaker was in the ring, and obviously Brock Lesnar came in and F5'd him. And obviously in that really awesome promo package they do. I mean, they're really good. Like they have one with Danny Bryan at the beginning with Monster theme track on it. That was great, and then you had this one with like two really solid promo packages. I do like a good promo package. So yeah, and that pretty much set up this match. And at first it was slow. It was, as you expect, guys getting old. It was never going to be a 5-star match in the sense of that. But the problem with this match I always found was, and watching it back, is like, with the information we know now, is when he got the concussion. Like, Undertaker got the concussion. And then after that, it just got slow, hard to watch. I mean, there was a moment in the match where, for 10 minutes, he was on the floor and he just couldn't. And we got like 2 Hell's Gates submissions onto him, like Brock Lesnar, but it was always on his back and it was always Brock Lesnar leaning into him, setting it up himself, pretty much. And it was just it was tragic to watch this match in the sense of the way it was, really, and it was really sad. And but yeah, I mean. But no one thought it was going to happen. No one thought. I mean, you just thought it'd just be hit a tombstone, power driver, 1, 2, 3, and that'd be it. But obviously we had, you had they done the old spots, snake eyes. You done a bit when he goes in the arm and the top rope, tombstone power driver. You had last ride, you had choke slams, had everything. Brock hit his, he had 3 F5s in the match. And obviously he had the Kimura lock that he doesn't use as much now, but back then it was a pretty big deal. And yeah, it had some cool spots, but it was just, there was moments where just it went way too long. It's 30 minutes, this match. It should have been 20, 25. They should have slowed it. They should have ended it quicker. And it is painful to watch at times, but that moment when he was going to hit the tombstone again, but then Brock Lesnar countered and then hit the F5 for the third F5 of the match. But as always, you're expecting, as it's WrestleMania, you expect him to kick out. And it 1, 2, 3, and everyone stopped. The whole place went stunned. It was just crazy. I mean, what the pub I was into at Southampton was I was sitting next to a mate, and we just sat there and we looked at each other going, nah, they've messed this up. It's a botch. The referee counted too fast, or the Undertaker missed his cue. He should have cut, should have kicked out. But no botch, no mistake. He just lost. And the crowd, I mean, you had that famous guy that had his face eyes rolled back, open wide, shocked. Yeah, and it just too upsetting to sort of watch back because it was just so emotional. Because as I said, it was a match where Undertaker always wins at WrestleMania, and then when you realise the streak's over, I couldn't comprehend it. It was just, it sucked the life out of the stadium. There was a cool moment at the end where like he got up and he walked away, and everyone saying "Thank you, Taker." It was a good moment. But obviously, then you hear that when he went over the curtain, he collapsed, and he was fighting for his life. And obviously, Vince at WrestleMania left the show to make sure he was okay. It's just everything about this match, sort of like looking back, sort of feels ugly. It feels upsetting. It's not great. Luckily, he had a better match when he returned. I mean, Survivor, was it SummerSlam, I think 2015? And that was a really good match. I think because they knew what they were hoping for, and they knew what they were trying to get. And there was just more energy behind it because of the streak. Because it was Brock that ended the streak. But we can all talk about, should have Brock. I still think, as I said, yeah, he did. But yeah, Stu sucks to watch this to this day. But yeah, this was where the streak ended. It's a fact. It sucks, but it's the way it is. So yeah, this is where the Undertaker streak died. So after that gut punching and shocking moment with the Undertaker streak ending, what would follow that? I mean, unfortunately for the women, I mean, as always, they put this Vickie Guerrero Invitational match for the WWE Divas Championship. I mean, sadly for this match, this looking back at this sort of reminds you why we're so glad that women are taken seriously now, and they have decent feuds, and the title means something, because at this point no one cared. And it was sad because we all know they were quite good, but no one cared about this match. Sorry, looking back, I don't really either. It's important to watch matches like this when you know that eventually people get fed up of it, and it will lead to a women's revolution. And now we have a main event of WrestleMania 35 is a triple threat with 3 women involved. So they've come a long way, but watching this match, it was not good. It's not good at all. It was just a match that you can put on while everyone can calm down after watching the streak end. Pretty much. And it's just nothing special. I mean, look back at the names he had back in these days. You had AJ Lee. She was a decent, only one that really kept that division alive because she was a good talker. Not the greatest wrestler, but a good talker. Sort of like CM Punk. No pun intended, now they're married. CM Punk, sort of like the guy, the woman that sort of like can talk. You know, like a good talker that can at least gives you sort of interesting. Then you had Naomi and Cameron. You know, they used to be part of the Funkasaurus with Brodus Clay. That feels like eons ago. Then you had the Bella twins, Nikki and Brie. You had Natalia. You had Eva Marie. You had Emma. You had Axelana, if I say that correctly. Alicia Fox. You had Summer Rae. You had Rosa Mendez. You had Layla. You had Tamina. And yeah, all these people, basically the whole situation of it was, they're all in the ring, and basically it was a 14-side match where AJ's got no hope in hell winning this match, really, and it was short as it should have been. Nothing really amazing happened. You had the powerbomb suplex spot that they always have in these kind of multi-people matches. And yeah, AJ surprisingly won. Really, she hit her submission, Black Widow submission, great submission, and obviously Naomi tapped, and she won. And obviously Vickie was trying to like screw AJ for some reason, in a sense of like, I think she was like hated her, I think, for when she was general manager, if I remember correctly. And she just wanted to get back at her now. She's got real power. But obviously, you don't remember this. What you always remember about this is the night after WrestleMania, when Paige debuted and went against AJ and won the match. And she lost. So AJ got her moment. She got her like WrestleMania moment, you know. But she still lost the title. But that was an awesome moment because Paige was great then. Stu is. And it's too sad to this day thinking that Paige is retired now. But I remember that it was then nights after WrestleMania Raws was pretty decent. So yeah, but this wasn't. It was never supposed to be. It was just something to do. It's not like the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's just so they can get everyone, like all the divas or women, on the card. I mean, but AJ, no one on that list I said was ever going to win. Like, really, that would have made it like a cool moment that would have said, oh, that's different. But yeah, AJ was winning, made sense. And obviously, I think she left a couple months after. Obviously, because she was still, I think she was married to CM Punk, or sort of they were together. So it was awkward at this point. But I think a couple months later she left, and now she's I think she's a writer now, if I remember correctly. I remember watching a Sam Roberts interview with her. Yeah, I think she's just talking about her experiences, so she's very happy. But yeah, this was a great month for her in the sense that she got a WrestleMania moment, but for the match, not great. And when you've just put it on after the streak ended, what were you expecting? But glad women wrestling's got good now, and they've actually given it a crap, give a crap about it. And but AJ at this match won, so it was really cool. So hey. So now we get to the main event of WrestleMania 30. That was originally, as we know, was supposed to be Randy Orton versus Batista. My God, so glad they changed this, because the fans would have booed out of existence if this was just that match. But luckily they came to their senses and basically put Danny Bryan into the match after obviously he won the match at Triple H early in the night. This whole story, as you know, going in was basically Danny Bryan has been fighting with the Authority since SummerSlam. He's been screwed. He's had crooked refs. He's had two crooked refs. He had Shawn Michaels being a crooked ref. You had Scott Armstrong being a crooked ref. Then you had the Bray Wyatt story and all that kind of stuff. They're trying everything they can to get him away from the world title scene, because they don't want him to be their man. They call him a B+ player, and they don't want him anywhere near that title. And obviously he's defined them early in the night, and now he's in this match. And to be fair, the reason, if he wasn't in this match, the crowd would have booed on it, completely crapped on it. But when he was in it, it just made it more. The crowd were really into this match, and yeah, it was great. I mean, the only problem is funny was when Danny Bryan wasn't involved, when he was out on the outside, the crowd were just booing the hell out of it. But when he came back, everyone was up, energetic. It was pretty much that kind of stuff. It was really cool. A bit where, the Authority came out again, Triple H was trying to, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was trying to screw Danny Bryan one more time, dragging the ref out and then putting his crooked ref, Scott Armstrong, in there just to, tried to do a fast count, but Danny Bryan kicked out. He finally got his revenge on the Authority by hitting a suicide dive on them, and they all got laid out. Then after this, you got really cool spot with the you got Batista and Randy Orton teamed up for just a bit of the old Evolution days, and set up the announce table for Batista to hit the Batista bomb that led into an RKO, and basically Danny Bryan was out for most of that, for that 5-10 minutes. And it was just Randy Orton and Batista in the ring. But Danny Bryan was doing the whole, they tried everything in this match, fold everything other than the kitchen sink to let us sympathise with Danny Bryan. And yeah, and it worked, because obviously he got back and Batista was just about to hit the Batista bomb on Randy Orton. He was going to win. And then Danny Bryan came in, running knee there, and then he put him in the yes lock. Everyone was like, tap Batista, tap. Even Michael Cole was like, tap Batista, tap Batista. And then when he did, my God, in the pub I was in Southampton, the place went nuts. You've never seen a sight when you've got 75,000 people chanting yes. And in the pub, everyone was in there was shouting yes, 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 yes. Wow, it's too awesome to feel now how awesome that was. It felt so good at the end, because afterwards we were shouting in the streets. We were so happy that Danny Bryan finally won the title. But the only sad thing about this is he only had one title defense, and then against Kane of all people. Then he got injured, and then he never really been the same, and then he retired. I mean, he's back now, but it's just it's just bad luck and timing. It could have been one of the biggest things, but it didn't happen. But this is the last time I think at WrestleMania, well, since WrestleMania 30, like this one, that I've come on happy. Actually felt happy. Because before I was doing this call, I talked to Josh about this, and it was basically a situation where it was just WrestleMania 31. It was saved by. It wasn't really. It was a shock moment, not a happy moment. 32. You got Brock. Still winning the title. You had 33. You had Roman Reigns against Triple H. Nobody cared about that. And then you had last year with Brock still winning. Just like, depressed, bad. You just want to end on a high, and this was no WrestleMania since WrestleMania 30. Prior to this, has really had that kind of feel good, happy moment where the fans go home happy for a change. And it's just like you never seen anything when you seen Danny Bryan with them 2 titles. He's been longing for forever. And then 75,000 people chanting yes. It was just such a great moment, and a way to end a great WrestleMania. No WrestleMania has really been lived up. Like, everything about this WrestleMania was good. You had the opening match was great. You had even the Shield thing. It was short, but it done its job. You had the John Cena Bray Wyatt feud that I disagree with who won. John Cena should have won that match, but the way the storyline, the storytelling in that ring was brilliant. Then you had the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Cesaro won. Someone that they could have done something with. It was just a great moment, and seeing that slam on the Big Show of it was great. Loved that. If you could say the AJ Lee Divas Championship defense in the Vickie Guerrero Invitational was a bit like a soft spot, but you were gonna have one match, but that's one. It wasn't like that long, so it's not that fair. And then you had this match at the end, the main event. It's just it all worked. You can sit back and watch 4 hours and it went like that, and you weren't bored. And it's just such a good show. And this is why it has lived up. Watching it back, it's even more better now. It's more good. I just love it, and I so wish WrestleMania 35 is like this, or have some sort of we go home happy for a change. Because obviously now you've got the Kofi Bryan thing, where now Kofi is like the Bryan of this WrestleMania. So it'd be interesting to see that in that match. But yeah, this is I love this pay-per-view. Josh is probably tired of me talking about it, because every time we talk about WrestleMania 30, I'm like, oh, when I went down the pub, he's probably fed up of me talking about it. So yeah, hopefully you've watched this pay-per-view. I assume you have. I mean, I would love to know your thoughts. Am I the only one that loves this WrestleMania 30? Or am I all by myself yet again with this kind of stuff? But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my review of WrestleMania 30. I'll be back with Josh to talk about WrestleMania 35. That'll be in 2 days now. God, it's getting close. And then obviously 7 hours. Why so long, this pay-per-view? WrestleMania 35, why? But yep, me and Josh will be back to review that. Also, if you check out on our Twitter at Josh and Stu Pod, you can listen to our WrestleMania promo for our JSPO Championship match, 6-way this year. It was really good last year, so if you haven't checked out, go on our Twitter. That would be where it is. Also, if you want to keep in contact with us or be involved in our prediction game, you can follow us on, or you can email us at joshandstewpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll give you all details about how to get involved and how the rules work, pretty much. You can also go on Instagram. We're on Instagram, Josh and Stu Wrestling Podcast, where at the moment I'm doing little snippets of some of the best moments of WrestleMania history. So hopefully you can go over there and we can discuss stuff about it, or we can just like would be awesome, or follow would be awesome as well. Hope you enjoy this review. Hope you enjoy WrestleMania 35, and we'll be back soon. Have a good day. Bye.